Hey guys, Bonnie in here, and I'm going to make this video, but real quick, I have a little disclaimer. If you guys hear my Discord go off, I don't know if it'll pick it up on this, but if you guys hear it, I apologize. Discord's not really functioning right now, and I'm trying to open it, but it won't open, and I can't really close it. And yeah, I'm sorry if you guys hear it. If you guys don't hear it, then just don't worry about it, but you'll hear a Discord sound effect notification come up every once in a while. Or I will. I don't know if you guys will hear it, but that's all I wanted to say. There's one right now. I don't know if you guys heard it. But anyway, guys, I want to talk to you guys. Today, I'm going to be doing a really different video. I'm going to be doing a little video I like to call Marvel Mash. It's a Marvel Mash video. I might do these every once in a while. I'll probably do a monthly Marvel Mash. Except for this is part 1 of the first one. So part 2 will probably come out Monday, I want to say, or Sunday, because I'm filming this one currently Friday, and this one will come out tomorrow, and then the next one will come out Monday. So right now I want to get into this. So basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm talking about 6 topics in total for these 2 videos. I'll do 3 in this video and 3 in the other one. So basically what Marvel Mash is I'm going to be talking about a bunch of Marvel stuff. And in this video in particular, I'm going to I'm going to do a fresh new ranking of all the MCU movies. So you're going to get my hot takes, my personal opinions on what I think. And I know a lot of people are going to be pissed off about my movie ranking. I'm just going to say right now, there are going to be a lot of people that are going to dislike it, but it's my opinion, and if you don't like my opinion, then just stop watching, because you're going to be really butthurt, all you Black Panther and Age of Ultron fans. So there's that, and then also, I'm going to be doing so basically, we know that Marvel acquired Fox, so I'm going to be doing a ranking of every Marvel movie. I'm going to be doing a casting of all the X-Men and a casting of all the Fantastic Four characters I could cast. So let's go ahead and get into those castings and Marvel movies. There's 23 Marvel movies. We're going to be talking about Marvel movies first. So let's get into the rankings. These are my MCU Marvel movie rankings from worst to best. I'm sorry if you're butthurt. I'm talking to you, Age of Ultron and Black Panther fans. You're going to be butthurt. Starting out our ranking at number 23, we have Avengers Age of Ultron, and I'm going to talk about each movie in particular where it's ranked. And I'm going to tell you guys at like 15 are the movies that I kind of like. So from 23 to 16 are the movies that didn't really click with me that much, or I just am not huge fans of, really, as a Marvel fan. But from 15 to about 13 are going to be the movies that I can watch. I liked and enjoyed them, but I probably never find myself watching them ever again. And then 12 to 7. 12 to 7 are going to be the movies that I think are the most, like, the ones I can watch and have fun with. And then 6 to 1 are just my all-time favorite Marvel movies. So starting off 23, we have Avengers Age of Ultron. And I know this is a big one right here, because a lot of people on their rankings, their worst movies either probably going to be Thor: The Dark World or Iron Man 2 or maybe Incredible Hulk or something like that. But for me, Avengers Age of Ultron does not work at all. It doesn't work at all for me, and here I'll tell you why. I think basically the main reason that's wrong with it is that everyone was so hyped for this movie, like really, really hyped. I remember the hype for this movie, and it just turned out to be a flop, kind of, in my opinion, and a lot of other people agree with me on this. It just did not really live up to the expectations of the first Avengers movie, and it was convoluted, and they rushed too much, and I'm going to tell you this right now. Ultron is a terrible villain. Ultron had the opportunity to become what Thanos is as we look at him. Ultron is a huge villain in the comic books. He's really strong, he's intellectual, he's powerful in the comic books, and he's threatening. This Ultron was not threatening. What? He's going to lift up an entire city and then drop it? Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I'll give him that. But other than that, he's just kind of hokey and he cracks jokes. He's a robotic Iron Man. He's a robotic Tony Stark, and he's not that threatening. On top of that, you have Vision introduced, and Vision's okay, but he's just felt like something that they wanted to throw in there, like, oh, there's Vision. Comic book fans will like him. He picks up Thor's hammer. It's not that good of a movie. You can sit down and watch Terminator 2 Judgment Day and have a better action movie with robots in that movie than you can with Age of Ultron. And that's just my hot take on it. Coming in at number 22 is Iron Man 2. Yeah. So 22 is Iron Man 2. What is to say about Iron Man 2 that hasn't already been said about Iron Man 2? It's just not as good as the first one. I guess it suffers from a case of sequelitis, you know? But that's no excuse, because some sequels are better than the first one. Iron Man 2, however, I haven't seen it in a while, but I just remembered watching it with my mom and not liking it that much at all. The villain is hokey and cheesy and corny, sure, but he's not the reason why it's bad. I just don't think we got enough of that Iron Man purity and heart that we got in the first movie that kind of started off the whole entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. You don't have that much charisma and charm, and there's no lightning in a bottle, basically, with Iron Man 2, and it just kind of falls flat, and it's dull, and it's paced kind of awkwardly. I do remember that, and the entire third act is just, what the hell is it? The best thing I can say about this is that we get a young Peter Parker, that little boy with the Iron Man helmet. It's not good, guys. Okay, so I think I finally figured out how to get rid of Discord, but coming in at number 21, we have Thor: The Dark World. This is a stoinker, a very big stoinker, and this I can talk about the villains, because the villains and the whole premise of what the villain wants is just really stupid. He wants to open up the 9 realms or whatever, and wants to control everything, wants to destroy everything. I don't know what he wants. It's just, he's doing something in a really bad movie. That's all I know. And Thor is in this, and his girlfriend gets possessed by red goo that happens to be an Infinity Stone. It's like, what the hell am I watching? And why am I watching it? That's how I felt. That's how everyone feels with this movie. And who can blame them? It's a bad movie. Like, even Thor just seems like Chris Hemsworth just seems like he's having the worst time of his life with this movie. And I kind of gotta agree with him there. Coming in at number 20, this is gonna surprise a lot of people too. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Guardians of the Galaxy, guys. That is lightning in a bottle. The first Guardians of the Galaxy you'll see on this list. I will praise it with every bone in my body. There is nothing, in my opinion, that is wrong with Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, on the other hand, it's not good. And I will give this to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 that I can't really give to the other movies that I don't like. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 has a great villain. And I'm just going to say that. It has a great villain. And I'll talk about that. Ego. Sorry, there was a disturbance. Anyway, Ego is one of those... He's a great Marvel villain. And I will defend Ego until a while. Until maybe the day I die. I don't know. But Kurt Russell just brings such charisma, and you feel like you're watching 2 Star-Lords on screen, because that's basically what it is. But other than that, this movie is just, it's not what you want from a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. It's like, just most of it is like Peter having a Saturday with his dad, and the other characters are just boring and basically have nothing to do, and all you really care about is Peter's stuff with his dad. And then the third act is just terrible with the giant brain that they have to go destroy. And I feel like this movie was marketed to be like, oh yeah, it's not really a good movie. Fuck, what do we do? Oh yeah, Baby Groot. Let's push that into the marketing campaign. That way everyone will go see it because of a little baby talking tree. Not much to say much more about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, except it sucks. Number 19, we have Incredible Hulk. I remember falling asleep during the Incredible Hulk. Not because it was boring, because I had a long day before and I chose to watch it at 1 in the morning. That's not a good idea. But upon watching it again, it kind of clicked with me in a few ways, but it's one of those movies where I don't like a lot of things. First off, Mark Ruffalo will always be the Hulk for me. I think he is that's perfect, dream casting for the Hulk. And Edward Norton just kind of seems a bit joyless when he is Bruce Banner in this movie. And I know you could say that about Mark Ruffalo too, because I don't know. Maybe some people don't like Mark Ruffalo. But I, for one, think Edward Norton's a great actor, but he kind of blew his chance to be part of this big deal. And he just doesn't bring the light and starring power that Mark Ruffalo does. On top of that, it's kind of boring. The villain's kind of wasted. Abomination. It's not a good movie. All right, next up we have Thor, the first Thor. I kind of like this movie for what it is. I mean, it's certainly not a perfect movie, but it is one of the Marvel movies that you look at and you're like, oh, okay. It's a pretty good movie. There are a lot of things to like about it. For example, Loki and Thor, and Anthony Hopkins as Odin are standouts. It's just a really satisfying movie. The only thing I don't like about the movie that kind of drags it down is actually, sadly, kind of a lot of the movie, and that's the Earth stuff with Jane Foster. I just thought you could have rewrote that movie so much better and had the Earth stuff be at least more intriguing, or do something with it that just made it more of a better film. And I think if you did do it differently, it might have been more of a cohesive and just an overall better flowing movie. So that's why it's so far down on the list. I'm really dreading the one I put after this one. So let's talk about it. Captain America the First Avenger comes in at number 17. Captain America the First Avenger. I remember watching it when it came out, and it was really good. And then I watched it again. I was like, where was that magic I saw the first time? This movie, it's a fun little action movie, and it's directed by Joe Johnston, or Johnston. I think it's Joe Johnston, though. Anyway, it's got elements of it that you really do like some of the action sequences are really good. The villain, Red Skull, I think is severely underrated at some points. I do think this is a pretty good movie, but there are things dragging it down a little bit, like the pacing, and there are parts that would be considered boring, like the beginning part when Steve Rogers is kind of skinny and squeamish and trying to join the military. It's just kind of boring, and I say that in kind of a loose sense of the word because, you know, some people don't find it boring, but for me, I just thought you could have cranked that up more. Like, you can keep that stuff in there with the Steve Rogers being small and weak, but there's just parts of it that you should have like redone to keep it more fresh and to keep it restrained in more of a tighter way, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm really gonna regret talking about this, but number 16, I'm gonna get a lot of bad remarks about this one. 16 is Black Panther. I've seen so many people put this as their number one MCU movie, and that's great. I'm glad you like it, and I'm glad you're having fun with it. But I gotta be honest with you on this. If you like this movie, I'm not mad, and I'm actually really happy that you find so much enjoyment in this movie. But in my personal own opinion, I know I'm going to get dislikes for this, but it's my opinion, guys, and if you can't handle an opinion, then why the hell are you on my channel? Like, you should know that I have a bunch of opinions that people don't agree with, and it's not because I'm trying to be, like, different than everybody. I gotta be honest. Black Panther is 3 things, in my opinion, and those 3 things are over political, boring, and most of all, overrated. And I'm gonna say that, I'm gonna get backlash for it, but this is my opinion, just like how your opinion out there is that you like this movie. I, for one, don't love this movie that much. It's okay. That's what it is at best. For all you people that are like, oh, it's number 1 Marvel movie, I want to hear why it's your number 1, because I bet your reasons why it's number 1 for you are reasons why I think it's number 16. Let's get into some of the stuff about this. This is going to be a long thing about Black Panther. Let's talk about the first thing I want to get out of the way, and I'll save the best for last. The first thing I want to talk about is boring. This is a snooze fest, because you go to a superhero movie to see sometimes a good plot and a good few action sequences, and you get wrapped up in the story. That did not hit me. This movie did not hit me. I was watching like, oh, I could easily get the same movie but better with The Lion King. That's all you need to do is watch The Lion King. You get a better movie. Even the 2019 remake of The Lion King it might be a better movie than this. I haven't seen it yet, but you know, I'm just saying, I know it's getting better reviews. Now, I'm not saying that just to shit on Black Panther, because there are some things that I enjoy about this. Like, the action, I think, is pretty neat, although the CGI is terrible. I'm going to say right now that it's just boring. There's so much stuff in here that just made me, like, the first time I watched it, I fell asleep, I'm pretty sure. Like, I did fall asleep, yeah. I fell asleep because it's the same thing as The Lion King, and you're like, oh, well, The Lion King did it better, and it had more heart and charisma and star power to it. It's just why I'm watching this. So that's the bore aspect of it. Overrated? You want to talk about overrated? I got in trouble, and now I'm not going to say that. I shouldn't be bringing this up on my channel because I don't like to talk about this stuff because it just makes me feel uncomfortable inside. But I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to speak my opinion. If I have an opinion, I'm going to share my opinion. I've gotten called racist for not liking a movie. We have entered a new form of society where you can be called racist and sexist for not liking a movie. I guarantee you people are going to call me sexist for having Captain Marvel so low on this list. I guarantee you there's going to be people that are going to say I'm sexist. I'm not racist. I'm not sexist. I swear to God, guys. It's just because I don't like a movie. You don't have to say that I'm racist. And I'm just going to say it that I just think it's very overrated. There was no reason that this needed to have more buzz and people needed to be talking about this more than Infinity War. And that was the sad truth about when Infinity War came out. People were like, oh, it's good, but Black Panther over here. Oh, that is the Citizen Kane of Marvel movies. No, it's not, guys. You guys are just blowing it out of proportion. Like saying that this is the first black superhero and it gives black people a good image. And it's like, okay, but Blade is the first African-American superhero. And I've gotten called racist for saying that. For saying Blade is a better movie than Black Panther. I've been called racist. Let's just think about that sentence for a second. Alright, now let's get into the last part. Over political. I'm going to talk about this. This movie jam-packed politicalness down your throat. And that's what does not need to belong in a superhero movie. You do not need to bring in political topics into a superhero movie. Sure, I mean, some political topics work for some superhero movies. Like Civil War is like a political thriller. Like, it's about the Sokovia Accords and the government, the U.S. government screwing over people, being on Iron Man's side. That's political, but you don't need to say, oh, white people bad, black people are greatest people, or white people great and black people are bad. You don't need to put that in. Race and politics or like racial topics do not belong in superhero movies because it just crowds people with bad image, and it just makes everything look worse than it should be, and makes people and specific groups of people look like bad people even though they're not. And I'm saying it goes for both sides, and I'm getting way too political with this video, and I'm sure people are gonna downvote this video hella. But I just gotta be honest, guys. Black Panther is a mediocre film at best. It's got some okay but cheesy action sequences, and they jam-pack political topics down your throat like crazy. Civil War is a political thriller, and Winter Soldier is a political thriller, but it doesn't cram it down your throat and then up your asshole to where they meet together and just blow up your body. I don't know, I think I made my point. I'm sorry if you like this movie. I just don't find enjoyment in it, and I hope we can agree to disagree. Please, because I don't want to be called racist for not liking a fucking superhero movie. Thank you. Now that I got that out of the way, Jesus. Next up, 15, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp. This is the movies that kind of got more enjoyable for me. Like, they got some enjoyment in it. I'll say Black Panther had some enjoyment, but I don't ever see myself watching it again. So from 16 to, like, I don't know, 13 are the movies I just don't ever see myself watching again. So Black Panther I don't see myself watching again. Ant-Man and the Wasp I don't see myself watching again because it had some good elements to it. Overall I watched it and was like, yep, sequel shit. You know, it's not as good as the first Ant-Man. You throw the Wasp in there. The Wasp, I will say this, was actually, in my opinion, better than Ant-Man in this movie. And I'm not just saying that so all you sexist people don't attack me for Captain Marvel. I'm just going to say it. Wasp, in my opinion, had more action and more to do with Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp than Ant-Man did. You know, Ant-Man's just in it because he's in it. Like, they kidnap him at the beginning of the movie, spoiler alert, and bring him in to help find the mother. But the whole movie is about the Wasp's mother. And Hank Pym's wife. So it's about them, but the Wasp kind of kicked a lot of ass. Now, on top of that, you have the villains, which aren't really villains. You have the Ghost, who's kind of like a bad character, basically, who's like a wannabe villain, and you have like the gangster mafia people, Sonny Birch, black market dealers. It's like, what the hell is this movie? It had some action sequences that were good, but overall, it's just one of those forgettable movies, and I don't blame it on the movie itself. I think it was because it just came out at the wrong time. For you guys that don't know what I'm talking about, this movie came out after Infinity War came out, and I think people were still talking about Infinity War. I think they should have waited until the end of the year of 2018 or maybe 2019 to bring Ant-Man and the Wasp to the big screen. But even then, I still feel like people would have complained because people would just be waiting for Endgame. So anyway, 15 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Number 14, we have Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, I gotta be honest with you, it's low on my list, but a lot of people are saying this is the worst Marvel movie. And I'm like, what the hell? It's like nowhere near the worst Marvel movie. Like, people, like, I had a friend who said Black Panther was the worst Marvel movie. And as much as I don't like the movie, I don't think it's the worst. It is nowhere near as bad, in my opinion, as Age of Ultron or Iron Man 2. But Captain Marvel, I thought was fairly enjoyable for what it was. Now, I'm going to talk about what I didn't like and what I did like. The reason why it's so low, I'll get to that, but let's talk about the good stuff about Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel had great, like, let's talk about the main thing that I loved about Captain Marvel was Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. We got to see the younger side of, like, the rookie Fury, as I like to call him, because we get to see a younger version in his prime before he was the badass that we saw in the Avengers and Iron Man 2. So we get to see more of a humanized version of Nick Fury, which I think was a very, very large breath of fresh air that we just needed. And it helped his character so much, and I respect that character a lot more for who he is now that we have Captain Marvel. On top of that, the Skrulls, what a nice twist those little Skrulls had with them, spoiler alert, being the good guys. I thought that was a great twist. Talos, I think his name was, portrayed excellently by Ben Mendelsohn. It was great. The villain was kind of underwhelming, but the main thing that held back Captain Marvel for me was, I gotta be honest, Brie Larson as Captain Marvel is Cosmic Karen. That's who she is, and that's all she will be known as. She is the woman with superpowers that demands to see your manager. And there's no getting past that, because she comes off, whereas if you look at Captain America, he comes off as a brave soldier who will do anything to protect his friends and his family and the people of America. And he's just there to, be a good guy. And he's very charismatic, and he cares about people, and he puts others before himself. Whereas Captain Marvel just kind of struck me as kind of a stuck-up, snotty person that's stuck on herself. She cares about only, like, herself, basically. Like, yeah, she helps people here and there, and she has friends, but really she's just very cocky. She puts herself before everybody else, and she thinks she's the most powerful person. It's like, dude, you need to just, like, take a few breaths and then take a step back, because, honey, you're nowhere near as powerful as Thor is. And I'm not saying that just to be a sexist asshole, okay? The movie was enjoyable, just not for Brie Larson. At number 13, we have Ant-Man. Ant-Man is a very enjoyable movie for me, although I don't really see myself watching it again. I have it on Blu-ray, and I watched it twice, once in the theater, once at home on Blu-ray, and I thought, okay, that's all I really need to see of that movie, and I don't ever feel myself watching it again. The performances were great, and I think the performances in each and every one of these movies is phenomenal, except for, Natalie Portman in Thor: The Dark World. Like, what the hell was that? But let's talk about Ant-Man. The actors were great. The guy who played Yellow Jacket was just like, kind of like a Lex Luthor-y type villain with a yellow Ant-Man suit. But people criticize this movie for being kind of like an Iron Man clone, and I do get what you're saying, because it's like, this guy builds or gets an armored suit, and then the villain gets an armored suit, and then they have to fight at the end, and they have an old mentor, and they have a love interest. But that's like basically every superhero movie. I mean, not really the armored suit fighting the other guy with the armored suit, but there are a few superhero movies like that. But Ant-Man, I just thought to be it was the movie that I saw after Guardians of the Galaxy and thought, okay, So it's not just Guardians of the Galaxy that was the humorous comedy movie, but we also have Ant-Man. It's kind of like a comedy heist movie. And it's done comedy heist movie better than a lot of other comedy heist movies, and I just thought that was good. But then you have the sprinkled superhero elements in there, and I thought it was good. I just don't see a lot of rewatchability factor, which in my opinion is a factor that is a big thing about superhero movies. If you can rewatch it, it's a great movie, I think. But Ant-Man, I'm not saying it's not a great movie, I just don't see the rewatchability factor in there. Coming in at number 12, we have Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 is kind of a mixed bag for me because it's one of those movies I will rewatch as many times as I have to. If I find a friend in the future that's never seen Iron Man 3, I will definitely watch it with them, and I will watch it as many times as I can because it's so enjoyable, and I know a lot of people don't like the twist in it. For one, I get why you don't like the twist, but for me it worked. You know, those old school comic book fans that love the comic books of Iron Man and just love the Mandarin character are going to be disappointed with the fact that the Mandarin's not really the Mandarin. It's kind of this other fiery breathy guy, mouth breather, asshole guy. But, you know, Iron Man 3 I still thought was enjoyable. It's got the action, it's got the heart. I think the biggest thing about it is heart. And if you have heart in an Iron Man movie, it's a good Iron Man movie, which is something that Iron Man 2 lacked with. You know, the first Iron Man movie has so much heart and charisma in it. That's why you like it. Iron Man 3 with him and the kid and the panic attack thing that they brought in, I thought was amazing, except they didn't really keep that throughout the rest of the MCU. But I just thought it was nice, like nicely paced, and I love what they did with the story. With the Extremis was kind of... It was out there, but it was good in an out there way. I know a lot of people didn't really care for that kind of stuff about the movie, but I, for one, really enjoyed it, and I do think it is one of the better, you know, second sequels out there. I mean, there's only a few. There's only like Thor and Captain America and Avengers, but yeah, it's a good movie. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. You get it. You get it. You get it. Coming in at number 11. Yes, 11. We have Doctor Strange. I know a lot of people on the internet, especially, do not like this movie for whatever reason, and I never really got that. Like, I didn't think it was amazing like some of the other movies in the MCU, but this movie was kind of dark and grim in a great humorous MCU lighthearted sort of way, and I kind of like that. It kind of mixed the darker tone with the lighthearted tone, and it kind of combined it and made this movie with magic and sorcery, and I thought it was really well done and well crafted, well directed too by Scott Derrickson, and well acted by Benedict Cumberbatch. And as much as I hate Caecilius as a villain, I really think Mads Mikkelsen did his best. That scene where he's got that thing on him and he can't move and he just sheds a tear is like so powerful because he's such a great actor in what he's doing. And the visual effects in this movie are to die for. I would say that, you know, if someone asked me what my favorite special effects in a movie are, I would say probably freaking this movie and Far From Home with the Mysterio scenes. Oh my god, they were to die for. And I really got to give credit where credit's due to Doctor Strange. It is kind of like Iron Man in a way, but I think Ant-Man is more of the Iron Man clone, to be honest with you. But Doctor Strange, it worked for me on all levels. Me and Eric, Semper Fi Films, we adore this movie. It's like maybe one of his favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe films, but for me, it's number 11 because there's movies I like more than it, but it's definitely got a place in my heart. Definitely. Number 10, Captain America Civil War. This is kind of low, maybe for a lot of people, but starting at number like 11, from 11 to like 6, or 11 to 7, are the movies that I found so much enjoyment in, and I love, but they're not as great as 6 to 1. They're just that, they're like the A- team. Not the B team, but the A- team. Shut the fuck up. That's like really close. Anyway, yeah, Captain America Civil War. I like what they're doing with Captain America, or with the MCU. I like what they did with Captain America in the MCU, with Bucky, and I love the twist at the end with him and Iron Man's parents. That, I mean, we kind of saw a little bit of that in Winter Soldier, but oh my god, it was so great. And this Civil War espionage movie was just insane, especially the airport sequence, and we get introduced to Spider-Man. It's just a great, fun time, and I loved it. And the villain, I think, is criticized more than he should be, and I can't wait to see what he does in Falcon and Winter Soldier. But that's all I really got to say. I really loved Captain America Civil War. I thought it was fantastic. Number 9, we have another Captain America movie, Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier, in my opinion, is the best Captain America movie, and is the definitive thing. It's like the definitive movie that I think of when I think, oh, that movie was better than the first one. The first sequel was better than the first one. So the Winter Soldier upgraded Captain America by like every level and every sense of the word. The action better in this movie. The villain better in this movie. I'm sorry, Bucky and Alexander Pierce are better villains than Red Skull. The dialogue and the action and the plot and the story and the scope and the length, it's all better, and just everything is just better. The acting is better and we got newcomers like Falcon and Brock Rumlow. It's just amazing, and I love this movie. I could rewatch this movie over and over and over. It's one of those few Marvel movies where if it like played on a marathon all day, I could sit down and watch every single time it played on TV. It's just one of those movies that you just have to sit down and have a ball with. It's amazing. Coming in number 8, kind of a surprise for me too, Spider-Man Far From Home. I didn't think that this movie, in my honest opinion, was as good as Spider-Man Homecoming, but I loved a lot of things about this movie, primarily the comedy. This movie is a full-blown comedy, like an action comedy, and I really respect that. There's so many points where I could not stop laughing at this movie, and it was just so great to get that. You know, most movies are actions with like sprinkled comedy throughout, but I'd say this is actually more of an action movie, or a comedy movie. Far From Home is more of a comedy than an action movie, in my opinion. There's not much action in it, and you know, I love Vulture. No one will ever take Vulture as my favorite villain, but after thinking about it, I went to see Far From Home in theaters and was like, oh, Mysterio is so much better than Vulture. Now that it's kind of resonated with me, I do like Vulture more than Mysterio. However, Mysterio is really cool, especially that sequence, the illusion sequence. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I mean, technically I kind of spoiled it by saying Mysterio is the villain, but if you didn't know that he was the villain by the trailers, you're just not really well versed with comics, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but yeah, that's basically it. You know, it was fun, and you know, I love the chemistry between Tom Holland and Zendaya. You know, you really feel like that they really actually have like love, like they love each other and they're in love, and then you really feel a lot of the stuff. And plus the end credits scene was just like, dude, that was like the best end credits scene of all time. So yeah, number 8 is definitely Far From Home. 7 is Thor Ragnarok. Sorry, microphone was fading the wrong way. Thor Ragnarok is just one of the most fun and funny experiences I've had in a movie theater. I'd say this is like right on the gap between comedy and action movie, kind of like Spider-Man Far From Home. But I do think Spider-Man Far From Home had more comedic elements in it, more than action. But I think Thor actually had more action in it. And that's one of the things that kind of hooked me about Thor Ragnarok, was that the action was just done bigger and better than the other movies, and they had more action sequences, and there was just a lot more to do. You felt like the characters had fulfillment in what they were doing, and you felt like they all had a purpose for being there, and that's why I think Thor Ragnarok is one of the best movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just because it feels so fresh and amazing, and it's the third movie in a trilogy of a character, but it still manages to feel fresh and amazing in its own personal, unique way. Alright, now you want to talk about full-blown comedy. We got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 at number 6. This movie, I remember walking out of that movie with my mom and my dad, and my dad was like, what the fuck was that? But he kind of liked it. He was like, what the hell was that? But I like it. My mom was like, what the fuck was that? I hated that. My mom hated Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. And I was like, dude, you can't hate it, dude. It's such a great movie. And oh my god, it is comedic in the best ways, and it's casted perfectly. If you would have asked 2014-year-old me like me in 2014, what I thought about the movie, I'd be like,
It was okay. I didn't like the villain. And the cast was okay. Vin Diesel wasn't that great as Groot. Bradley Cooper was amazing as Rocket. But Dave Bautista was asshole as Drax. I didn't like him.
if you'd asked me then, I would have said that. But nowadays, I love everything about it. Even Vin Diesel as Groot. I even like... Drax grew on me. In Volume 2, I hated Volume 2 as a movie, but I loved him as a character in that and Infinity War. I just love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. The soundtrack is amazing. Action, when there's action, is amazing. The heartfelt moments are so sweet and endearing. And it's just an overall fun adventure and a great, great, great time at the movie theater. Number 5, we have Iron Man 1. This movie started the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, and if you didn't have this movie, you wouldn't have any of these movies on the list, so I have to have a soft spot on it, and I could rewatch this movie over and over. This is my mom's favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. She just has an absolute blast with it, and so do I. I find myself rooting all the time for the good guy. This is one of those classic movies where you just like, yes, it's fun, and it's great to root for the good guy, and it's got a good bad guy with Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stane, and then you get introduced to the Ten Rings, and Jarvis is in it, Pepper Potts, and then you get Nick Fury at the end. Oh my god, what a great package this movie is. Didn't spend that much time talking about it, but don't let that fool you. This movie is fantastic. It is thebomb.com. Coming in at number 4, we have Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, this movie was everything I wanted a Spider-Man movie to be and more. I still like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2 just a tad bit more, but this is my second favorite Spider-Man movie of all time, and it holds a place in my heart for the MCU because Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man, even though I do love Tobey Maguire, and I thought Andrew Garfield was so-so. I feel like... Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield had a love child, that would be Tom Holland Spider-Man. So Tom Holland Spider-Man is a mixture of Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and then on top of that you have a great story, and you have the high school aspect, and it's just so relatable with this young kid and all of his other friends trying to fit in. Plus you have the great villain of Vulture, played by Michael Keaton, in an outstanding role. Everything just worked about this movie that you could think of, and that's why it is number 4 on my list. I just love it so much. I love it to pieces. It's great. Coming in at number 3, we have Avengers Infinity War. Now, I know some people are going to be like, wait, why isn't it higher? I have 2 other movies that I find better than Infinity War, even though Infinity War is amazing. I remember watching Infinity War in theaters and just thinking, oh my god, like when that movie ended, I was like, what the hell? That's it? And I gotta be honest, Infinity War is the movie I've rewatched the most times. I think I've seen it a record. I'm not going to say it's a record because people have seen it way more than this. But I think I've seen Infinity War about, honestly, like 17 or 18 times. I think that's how much I've seen it. Like 18 times, I think is how many times I've seen it. It's just great, and they bring in all the characters, and each character knows what they have to do, and then they have their own thing to do, and they bring on all the characters flawlessly, and there's not a dull moment with any character. Every character gets their outstanding moment, and I think that's what makes it. But the thing that really makes it is Josh Brolin as Thanos. We finally, after so many teases of him in other movies, we finally get to see him, and he kicks ass. So with number 2 and number 1, I kind of swapped places back and forth because I didn't know what to put as my number 1. I didn't know what to put as my number 2. But nevertheless, if you would have asked me like sometime earlier this year, I would have flipped these probably, or I probably would have kept number 2 as my number 1. Coming in at number 2, we have Avengers 2012, the first Avengers movie. I've said this for years, and it was broken. This saying was broken by another movie. I basically said that there is no way that you can beat the Avengers movie from 2012 because nothing is ever going to beat the first time you saw that first Avengers movie and the first time you had a real great time watching a blockbuster of the summer like that. Nothing will ever replace that, and that's what I thought until I saw my number 1 movie. But this movie was just phenomenal in every sense of the word, because you had all these regular movies like Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Hulk, Iron Man 2. You had all their solo movies that you needed to basically get ready for this movie, and when it came out, it blew everyone away and exceeded everyone's expectations plus more. we're finally, this movie is responsible for Infinity War and Endgame, and all of these big movies that we get now, it comes from this big blockbuster. And it was just a delight to watch in theaters, and definitely one of the most rewatchable movies in my opinion. Nevertheless, you guys know this is coming. Number 1 is Avengers Endgame. I stuck to the fact that I said that you will never beat the first time you saw the Avengers, but Avengers Endgame somehow did that. I watched this with my beautiful girlfriend and a few other friends, and oh my god, it was just amazing. Just being able to sit in a theater with a bunch of people. Like, I think we went like the day after it came out, something like that, and the theater was full, and I got to sit next to my best mates and the people that I love the most and just watch this 3-hour thrill ride of amazingness. And it was one of the best things about any summer I've ever had. And I got to just sit there and watch every moment play out. And I cried in the freaking theater 6 times. I'm not going to spoil when, because honestly I could, because it's been out for a while now. I cried, let's see, I have the list on my phone somewhere, I think. I cried 6 times, I know that, but while I'm pulling up the list of scenes I cried at, let me just talk about the movie. The movie was amazing. Right from the get-go with Hawkeye's family, you just are immediately clicked into the story. And that was just the opening, and it was just like, oh my god, we're in for a thrill ride. Okay, I got the moments where I cried. So I cried at Hawkeye's family. I did remember, like, shedding a couple tears when his family does it. I was like, damn, that's hard. And then Tony on the ship with Nebula and sending that message to Pepper. When he passed out, I thought he fucking died. What the hell? I cried there. I cried when he met his dad. Later on in the movie, I cried when Thor saw his mom. I cried when Black Widow died. Tears of joy. Like, one tear of joy when everyone returned from the dead. Iron Man's death, of course, and then the end of Captain America. A lot of times I cried in the movie, but it was just the emotional thrill ride and the emotional package that you just wanted from a superhero movie. Not only was it emotional, but it had all of the action that you wanted. The story, the time heist was amazing in the movie, and it just, everything was in this 3-hour movie, and they pulled it off so spectacularly. And I have to be honest when I say that this is how you end a long-running franchise. This is how you end everything, and you move on to a new story with new characters. This is how you end the original story of the original Avengers and the old characters. This is how you do it, and everyone will miss those old characters. And I just gotta say, with everything that they did, and with how they ended each person's story, I thought was phenomenal, and it just clicked and it worked. But that is why I like Endgame more than the first one. It beat the first time I saw Avengers, and that is not an easy task to do, but hey, they did it, so. And now, next up, now that I've ranked all the movies, and all you all are commenting all your hate and death threats to me about the Black Panther placement and the Age of Ultron placement, I'm going to get into something else, and now we're going to be talking about my picks for the X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Disney and Marvel both acquired Fox. So now they get the rights back to the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, Galactus, Silver Surfer, all of them. So now we get all of those people, and they're going to come into the MCU sooner, maybe later, but they're going to be in there a little bit later. So right now, we're going to go through all the X-Men that I could find and all the villains I could really think of that I want to see in the MCU. So these are just what the villains I want to see in the MCU are, and the heroes I want to see in the MCU are, and who I think should play them, and who I think would do a good job. So without further ado, let's get into it right now, starting with our number 1 pick. So I might as well just keep this ball rolling and whatnot. So first off, the first X-Men I want to cast is Cyclops. Cyclops is a pivotal part of the X-Men. He's like the leader of the X-Men. He leads them into battle, and he's kind of a Boy Scout. And I felt like he was done fine in the original X-Men films played by James Marsden, and kind of like lackluster played by Ty Sheridan in the newer X-Men films. But for me, if they're going for a younger, like, sort of X-Men, I find myself picking Logan Lerman as our next Cyclops. He was in the Percy Jackson films, which weren't that great, but he was in Perks of Being a Wallflower, which I think is an incredibly underrated movie, and if you haven't seen it, I think you really should, because it really hits a lot of hard points in that movie and talks about society kind of in a way, I guess. But he's been in other things that are good, like Fury, so we don't just look at him as Percy Jackson, which kind of flopped. Next up, we have the casting for Wolverine, and for Wolverine, it's kind of tough, but for me, I have two picks on who could play Wolverine. One of those being Taron Egerton, and the other one, Dan Stevens. So these are my two picks for Wolverine. I know Dan Stevens is kind of a iffy choice, because if you guys don't know, he plays Legion on the FX Marvel X-Men show. But now that they've acquired Fox, I'm assuming they're going to reboot everything, so they'll probably find a new Legion, and maybe that show will be canceled, I don't know. But let's just rework it into there. I think Dan Stevens has the look, and he could totally pull off getting built and more muscular and get the physique of Wolverine. Taron Egerton kind of already has the physique, and he's a really great actor. If you've seen him in the Kingsman movies, and I really think he can pull off that evil scowl. And yeah, these are my two picks because they've been in such great things. Dan Stevens was the Beast in Beauty and the Beast. That's certainly not the highlight of his career, but it was still pretty good. He's Legion. He is in a movie called The Guest, which I find a very, very underrated, kind of a thriller-ish type movie. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. Taron Egerton, he's Elton John in the Rocket Man movie, which I thought was phenomenal. And he's also Eggsy in the Kingsman movies. You guys don't need any introduction on why these two actors are a great fit for Wolverine. I don't know who I'd pick over the other, but these are just my two picks. You guys can decide who you'd rather have as Wolverine. Next, we have the casting for Jean Grey, and for me, I would like to see Saoirse Ronan pull off this kind of role, and I think she definitely could. If you've seen her in a movie, I think it's called Lady Bird, I could be very wrong about that title, but she's in this movie and she's phenomenal in it, and she's a great actress, and all you'd have to do is just watch some of her filmography and some of the stuff she's been in to know that she is a phenomenal actress, and I think she has the acting chops to pull it off, and we haven't really seen her. I could be wrong because I haven't seen all of her films, but I don't think we've ever seen her in more of like an action-esque type film, and I think that she could really do a lot of greatness and work some wonders into it. Now, for Professor Xavier, I had to think about this for a while, because many people look at Professor Xavier and like to think that they know who to cast him as. Like, Mark Strong might be a good Professor Xavier, or Patrick Stewart. But for me, I would like to see Ralph Fiennes pull off Professor X. And if you guys don't know who Ralph Fiennes is, I'm sure all of you do, but he is Voldemort. And I think if you've ever seen the Harry Potter movies, I could just tell you right now that he gives the best performance of any Harry Potter movie that he's in, and that is my opinion, but a lot of people would agree with that opinion probably. He really has perfect acting, and he could really pull off this paraplegic, wise professor that wants to teach these young kids how to use their abilities and tell them that mutants are not disgraces to the future, and that they can live in peace and live with the humans. And I think he would really pull that off in a great, really mature way, in my opinion. For Storm, I casted Yara Shahidi. I really think that she is perfect for the role. You know, I've seen a lot of people say that they should introduce Storm into the Black Panther sequel, maybe. And if you want to do that, that might be perfect. You know, I've seen a lot of people say Kraven should be in a Black Panther movie. That'd be really cool, too. I think they're talking about bringing him into the next Spider-Man movie, which is cool. But if you've seen her work on, what's she been in? Blackish and Grownish, and she just plays a really good character, and you really like her for her charisma and what she can pull off, and I think she would be a perfect fit for Storm. You know, there's not really any other person I could think of. You know, Halle Berry was okay as Storm, but wasn't the Storm that I think we were all looking forward to, and her accent was atrocious. I forget who played Storm in the newer X-Men films. I'm going to look that up real quick. Alexander Shipp. She was good as Storm. I didn't see Dark Phoenix, or I did, but I don't remember if she was good or not. I don't remember. I just remembered thinking she was okay in X-Men Apocalypse, but I think Yara could bring some new spice to the role that I don't think we've ever seen a Storm been portrayed as in any other past version of Storm. Oh, we have a lot more to do. Oh god, oh god. And next up we have Iceman, and for Iceman I'd see... Who do I have? Oh shit. Oh, yes, Lucas Hedges. I think Lucas Hedges would be a great Iceman. He was also in Lady Bird. He was in Manchester by the Sea. He's been in a lot of Oscar movies that are seen by the Academy, and that gives him something that should say, hey, yeah, he'd be really good as Iceman. But I'd like to see him be more of a pivotal character in the X-Men movies if they're going to cast him as Iceman. I'd like to see him more than usual than we saw in the other movies of X-Men, but I really think he could do a fine job. Like, he's been nominated for an Oscar. He's a really, really great actor, and he's been in tons of great movies that are seen by the Academy, and if that doesn't get your opinion on him, I don't know what will. So my next answer is kind of a cop-out, but my next one is Colossus. And who do I cast as Colossus? Well, I'd say keep the same guy from Deadpool. I think he's a great Colossus. Better than the one from the original X-Men movies. Much better. That was just like some kind of tall, semi-muscular dude that turned metal. You know, that's what you want, I guess, from Colossus, but this Colossus, I felt like, did what his job was, and he was just that kind of Boy Scouty, tall, metal, gigantic superhero in the Deadpool movies, and I think if you just kept him, I don't think people would be confused. I just think it would kind of be more entertaining if you just kept the same guy. I don't see who else could really play the role of Colossus. Sorry if you hear that noise, I don't know what it is. But next up we have Beast, and I think Beast needs to be a CGI character, obviously, unless you want to do the prosthetics like you did with Kelsey Grammer, which was fine. I mean, I loved Kelsey Grammer's Beast, but if you want to do the CGI Beast, let's get someone who really, really, really has a lot of experience with CGI and animation and mocap work, and I think the person for that would not be Andy Serkis because he's already Ulysses Claw. So I think we'd get Toby Kebbell. Toby Kebbell, I think, would pull off a perfect Beast. He was in the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes movies, and he was perfect. If you've seen the behind the scenes of him in mocap pulling off like the mannerisms and how it feels to act like a monkey, he is perfect, and he gets everything down to a T. And I think if you were to portray like a beast-like character who hangs by his feet and is really good in combat and acts like a beast of nature, Toby Kebbell would be perfect for the role. For Angel, I have Alfie Allen from Game of Thrones. If you've seen his work on Game of Thrones and even the John Wick movie, you know that he's a really talented young actor, and I think he needs more work than just the Game of Thrones stuff, even though it's already ended. I don't know what holds him in his future as far as acting goes, but I think he could really pull off Angel and maybe down the line be Archangel. I think that'd be really, really cool to bring into the X-Men universe, and I think he would bring a new kind of version of Angel we haven't seen yet. As much as I did not like the one from Last Stand that didn't talk, and as much as I really didn't like the one from Apocalypse, I think he would bring some, like, levity to it. And maybe just, like, make it more of a pure character. Make it his own character. And I think that's what Alfie would do, and I think that's why I think he's a great choice for Angel. For Kitty Pryde, I have Millie Bobby Brown. She is excellent as 11 in the Stranger Things series. She is excellent. She gets better with every season. Season 1, she was great. She didn't talk much, but she just portrayed that kind of badass girl that you really like to see her in more things. The first thing I thought of when I saw her in season 1 was I want to see her in more things, and she was in Godzilla. But season 2, she kind of got better too, where she's looking for her mom, and that stuff hit hard with a lot of audiences. But then season 3, I think, is where 11 really shines, and Millie Bobby Brown brings the brightness out of 11. She's a great actress. She was good in Godzilla. Hey, let's give her Kitty Pryde. Let's see what she can do with the role. I think she'll do perfect. Nightcrawler. For Nightcrawler, I have Pennywise himself, Bill Skarsgård. I think he would portray a fantastic Nightcrawler, even if we got the comic accuracy. I really like the Nightcrawler from the original X-Men films, but I loved him more in Apocalypse. I didn't like Apocalypse, but I did like what they did with Nightcrawler. I thought it was really cool, and you give him a comic-accurate suit with the red and the black kind of suit, and you make him cool, and you make him awesome, and you make him kind of creepy looking, and I think Bill Skarsgård can portray creepy well, obviously with the Pennywise that he's been, the clown for It. He's a perfect choice in my opinion. Give him more stuff to do. Deadpool, I'm just going to get this out of the way real quick. Ryan Reynolds. You're not going to get anyone else to play Deadpool besides Ryan Reynolds. Keep Ryan Reynolds. And I think as of right now, Disney is keeping Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, and they're keeping it rated R, which is great. Don't fuck it up, Disney. Don't you dare fuck it up. Now here's where I think my casting choice for the X-Men gets kind of interesting, because we have Magneto. For Magneto, I picked Jason Isaacs, and I think, let me tell you why, okay? First off, terrific actor. If you've seen him in the Harry Potter films and The Patriot, he's always kind of played kind of a bad guy in most of his movies that he's been in. He was in The Patriot, he was in all the Harry Potter movies. At least the most of the stuff I've seen him in, he always portrays kind of like that asshole bad guy, and I think that's why he would be a great fit for Magneto, is because he could bring some really great character development, and we could see his version of how he portrays his own version of Magneto, and I think it would be perfect to see what he could do. And it would be really good if we got Ralph Fiennes to play Xavier and then Jason Isaacs to play Magneto. That way they could have a little reunion, because, you know, Voldemort and Lucius Malfoy. For Gambit, we gotta go with the choice here, Channing Tatum. Now, I know a lot of people weren't really sold on the whole Channing Tatum thing to begin with Gambit, but for me, honestly, I think we need to give him a shot. Let's just see what he can do with the role before we can criticize it or praise it or whatever we do with it, because if you guys don't know, Channing Tatum was going to be Gambit, and I think his casting choice was announced in like 2014 or 15 or something like that. It was after the 22 Jump Street movie came out. He was going to be Gambit, and it just never happened because they couldn't find the right director. They couldn't find the other cast members to be with him, but he always has been wanting to play a superhero, and I think Gambit's the great choice for him. I really don't know who else could play him, but I know a lot of people are like, oh, you want Magic Mike, a stripper, to be fucking Gambit? Let's just see what he can do, because he can pull off comedy well, which I think Gambit is a comedic character in the comics. I don't really know that much about Gambit, but I do think he could be great. For Jubilee, I'm going to say this name wrong. I got Yafai Liu, and I'm pretty sure I just butchered her name, and I'm sorry if I did. But yeah, I have Yafai Liu playing Jubilee. If you guys don't know who Yafai Liu is, she's going to be Mulan in the live-action 2020 Disney Mulan remake. And just based on that trailer, I didn't necessarily love the trailer. However, I do think that she is a great badass action hero, or heroine, I should say, and she can really pull off badass and acting. I haven't seen her in too many things, but I do think that she is a great choice for Jubilee, and I think she would just have a lot of fun with it. You know, we haven't really had a great Jubilee yet in an X-Men movie, and I think she could be our definitive Jubilee. For Pyro, I have Austin Butler. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you want the prick from Zoe 101 to be Pyro? Yeah, he's my choice. It's my opinion, guys. You don't have to get mad over an opinion. First off, he's not only the guy from Zoe 101, I know him, but he's also in Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and I heard he's done really great in that. I haven't seen the movie yet. He's also going to be Elvis in an Elvis biopic, and if they want this young, hot Hollywood stud to be Elvis Presley, I'm sure he's got just, you know, some acting chops that could pull off Pyro. You don't really need acting chops to be Pyro, I'd say. I mean, you obviously need to be a good actor, but Pyro I always saw as kind of like this badass fire manipulator, kind of like a bad, evil version of the Human Torch, and I just think Austin Butler could really pull that off and just give what needs to be given to the character, basically. This is where a lot of people are going to differ and be like, what the fuck kind of a choice is that? But for Blob, I have Christian Bale. And I know it kind of sounds funny because Christian Bale is obviously not large like the Blob is in the comics, but if you know anything about Christian Bale, he is one of those actors that really puts all he can into a character. If you guys have ever seen his Batman movies, he doesn't have a great Batman voice, but you can tell he gave everything he could to be Batman in every role he plays. John Connor in Terminator, amongst other things. Patrick Bateman in American Psycho. He really puts everything he can into a character, and I think that's why he's my pick for Blob, is because he was just in a movie about the Vice President Dick Cheney, and he's about Dick Cheney, and he basically gained a bunch of weight for that role. Now, he doesn't need to gain a bunch of weight necessarily to be, you know, Blob. You know, they could give him a huge bodysuit, but I think what strikes me the most is him being Blob is his acting ability and all that he gives for a character, because this is a guy who could really shape his body for a character, and that's what I mean by gives everything to a character, because if he needs to be a skinny little twig, he will lose all the weight necessary to be that skinny little twig. If he needs to be an overweight man, he will eat as much as he can to become that overweight man and still give off a terrific performance. So that's why Christian Bale is my pick as the Blob. For Lady Deathstrike, I have two choices, Awkwafina and Lucy Liu, but I'm going to opt for the latter with Lucy Liu, because I didn't know this. I made this list of casting choices before this happened, before Phase 4 was announced at Comic-Con. And if you guys don't know, Awkwafina was already announced to be in the Shang-Chi movie, so I can't really keep her as Deathstrike as much as I wanted to. So we're going to get rid of Awkwafina, and these were just my two choices, but since she's going to be in Shang-Chi, I'm going to opt for Lucy Liu, because she is a badass in most of the stuff I've seen her in, Kill Bill, and also the Charlie's Angels movies weren't that great, but she can also be a great actress, and she kicks ass, and I think she could really show some, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying she could probably kick Wolverine's ass like she did in the X-Men 2 movie, but with different actors. For Victor Creed Sabretooth, I have Jay Ryan, who's going to be playing the older Ben Hanscom in It Chapter 2. And honestly, if you look at him and then look at Dan Stevens or Taron Egerton, you could kind of see a little bit of like a polar opposite. Like, not a polar opposite, but like they kind of look like each other, and they could really portray, I think, who they would need to. Like, if Dan Stevens was Wolverine and Jay Ryan was Sabretooth, you could be like, oh god, they kind of look like each other, and they could fight it out and see why that Wolverine and Sabretooth are kind of mortal enemies, or like basically their arch nemesis are each other. So I really think Jay Ryan would be a perfect fit. We'll see how he does in this It Chapter 2. If he doesn't do as well as everyone thinks he might, then I might change up the actor a little bit, but honestly I think he'd be perfect for the role, in my opinion. Now, Juggernaut I want to be CGI, but as for the voice, I'd like to see Patrick Warburton voice Juggernaut. If you guys don't know who Patrick Warburton is, he's been in a ton of things. He was the original Tick, the live action Tick for Peter Serafinowicz or whatever his name is. But Patrick Warburton voices Joe and a bunch of characters on Family Guy. He voices Ken in the Bee Movie. He's Kronk in Emperor's New Groove. He's one of those guys with a very, very like distinctive voice, and I think he could make the Juggernaut this menacing beast who's ready to kill and destroy anything in his path, and I think he'd be perfect. Okay, Avalanche. For Avalanche, I'm gonna go with Alfred Enoch, who is also in the Harry Potter films, and he does good in where he is in the Harry Potter films. Other than that, I don't really see him, but I think he's one of those young talents that we haven't seen the last of, that I think could be a perfect fit for someone like Avalanche in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as this guy who I'm not really familiar with Avalanche. I know he is part of the X-Men lore in the comics. I'm pretty sure he's a bad guy. I'm gonna get grilled in the comments for this, but just put him as Avalanche and see what he does. I think he's one of those talents that we haven't seen the last of, and he's definitely a talented young lad in his acting career. So yeah, give him this role. For Emma Frost, I got Olivia Holt, and Olivia Holt for me, is not the only choice I could have picked for Emma Frost, honestly, but she is, for me, one of the better choices. She's already proven that she can act in a Marvel thing, because she is Dagger in Cloak and Dagger. But I really think she'd be perfect for the role, honestly. Now, she's not the only actress that's blonde and young that could be Emma Frost, but she definitely has the looks and the acting and the physique to be Emma Frost and just be this badass who's ready there and to be a badass, essentially. And I really think she pulled it off well as Dagger in Cloak and Dagger. I haven't seen much of it, but the stuff I've seen, she's a really great actress, in my opinion. And I think she could really pull off this Emma Frost character. And oh my god, I don't know what I'm saying. I feel like I'm repeating the same compliments for each actor with everyone. But we still got, let's see, how many more people do we have to cast for this? 1, 2, 3. We have 10 more people to cast for this X-Men thing, so let's get through it. Mystique, this one's going to be easy to talk about, because of Mystique, I have Emilia Clarke, and this one is my one that I really want to see. There's a couple other here on this list that I want to see, but Emilia Clarke as Mystique, just think about that. She is perfect as Daenerys Targaryen in Game of Thrones. I've seen clips of her, and she's great in the movie that she's great in movies and TV shows, but here's the thing about her, is that Terminator Genisys was god-awful, but she was great in the movie, and she can be in a bad movie and make it great. Like Solo, I thought was kind of a little bit better than people were saying. It's not perfect, but she elevated that movie along with Donald Glover and, I forgot his name, Alden Ehrenreich. They were the 3 best stand-up performances for me in that movie. And I think she and Donald Glover are really what made that movie pop. But she can make a bad movie great just by being in it. So even if this X-Men movie is bad, which I hope it's not, she could definitely be great as Mystique. And she's a character actor, and she can really put everything she got into a character, and that's perfect. For Toad, I'm going strictly for memes here, because what actor could you see pull off Toad, this slippery, slimy little creature with a long tongue and greasy hair and wet skin? How about Noah Monk, Gibby from iCarly? How about that as Toad? Just for meme value, just for the memes. For the memes! For Bishop, I casted John Boyega. I think he could really be the energy fuel powerhouse that we need, and he's proven himself to be a great actor with the Star Wars movies and Pacific Rim, which wasn't that great, but he was still great in the movie. And a lot of people don't know this, but he was in this movie called Attack the Block, which I thought was really, really great, and it had a lot of, what am I trying to say, heart and joy to it. It was like an action comedy sci-fi top movie, and it was like just a bunch of teen gang, like a bunch of teenagers protecting their little section from an alien invasion, and I just thought it was so pure and heartfelt, and he was one of the best parts about that movie, and I think he's actually one of the better parts about this new Star Wars trilogy that they're doing. And I'm not really a huge fan of some of the new Star Wars stuff, except for The Force Awakens, but he's really good, and I think he'd be a really great Bishop. Yeah, I don't know why I put this on here. Paralyzer, Jensen Ackles. We already got someone else from Supernatural playing another Marvel character. Just throw him in there. I don't know why. What did I do? Havoc, Dylan O'Brien. Great actor. I'm going to speed through these. Okay? I'm going to speed through these really fast. Not talk that much about them, because we still got the Fantastic Four to get to in this video. And this video is already pretty freaking long. So yeah. Havoc, Dylan O'Brien, great actor. He's in The Maze Runner. He's a good actor, a young kid. Really would shine as Cyclops' brother. So, yeah. Dylan O'Brien. If you want a new Legion, I'd say if you want a younger Legion, Jacob Tremblay. If you want an older, Alexander Skarsgård. There you go. You got Legion. Great actors, and what they've been in, especially Jacob Tremblay and Alexander Skarsgård, they've been great in everything they've been in. Just really great. Some of the movies and stuff aren't so great, but they're great in the movies. Bolivar Trask, Pedro Pascal. He's going to be the Mandalorian. He's in Kingsman. He's a great actor. He's in Narcos. He's a fantastic in Narcos, and he can really be a great Trask. Sunspot, we'll do Finn Wolfhard. Why not? Just cuz. I don't know why. He's in Stranger Things. So does Natalie Dyer. Psylocke, get Natalie Dyer. She'd be perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Finally, I want to spend some time on this one because I was just trying to get to this. Apocalypse. En Sabaner, Javier Bardem. Let's do it, guys. Javier fucking Bardem would be perfect as the Apocalypse. He'd be so menacing in that role, guys. Have you ever seen No Country for Old Men? He is fantastic, and he's so menacing for who he is. And this character, Anton Chigurh, he would be perfect as Apocalypse, just being there. And he's tall, unlike Oscar Isaac, so he could really pull off this villain who is just menacing and could probably tear the earth a new asshole. Wow, we finally got through the freaking Marvel X-Men. Thank God when I cast the Fantastic Four, it's not going to be that long. But yeah, speaking of Fantastic Four, let's talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe Fantastic Four, who I would cast. So, for Mr. Fantastic or Reed Richards, I'd go with the obvious choice here that everyone wants, John Krasinski, because he is great in everything he's been in. The Office, he's comedic, he's serious in A Quiet Place, and in 13 Hours. He's a great actor, and plus, what I'm about to talk about with Susan Storm would just make him and the actress I have for Sue Storm the perfect choices for these two characters. For Sue Storm, I have Emily Blunt, and if you guys don't know, Emily Blunt is married to John Krasinski, who I want to play Reed Richards. So, and the whole thing about Fantastic Four is that they are a family, and you feel like they're a family, because in the comic books, you clearly see they love each other with all their hearts while they're on their missions, and they are one big happy family, and they just love each other, and I think that would be portrayed excellently if you got those two to be Reed Richards and Susan Storm. They would be perfect as husband and wife in the movie, because they're husband and wife in real life. And even on top of that, you have the other two, Ben Grimm and Jonathan Storm, and I just think that she'd be a perfect choice for Sue Storm, and it brings that family aspect full circle. For Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, I have Jared Padalecki, who is on Supernatural as well with Jensen Ackles. And this is a weird choice, okay? I understand it's a weird choice, but I just want to see it because I'm tired of everyone saying Zac Efron needs to be the fucking Human Torch. He does not. He's got the physique. He's probably got the douchebaggery about him, but that's it. I do not want to see this guy portray the Human Torch. I just don't want to see it, and I will not get that off my mind when I see it if that's the case. So let's get Jared Padalecki. He could probably be funny if he was given the right script and was told the right way about direction. He could probably be funny, probably be a douchebag, and he could probably pull it off just as well as anybody else could. For The Thing and Ben Grimm, I have two picks, but I'm going to go with the latter on this one too. I'd have David Harbour and Brian Tyree Henry. But the thing about David Harbour is he's already cast in Black Widow. That's what it was. He's playing Alexei. And if you don't get Alexei, Stranger Things 3, oh my god. He's playing Alexei in Black Widow. But so he's probably out of the question, which is kind of sad because he would have been a perfect Ben Grimm. But let's go with Brian Tyree Henry. I think he'd be a really good second choice for Benjamin Grimm. The Thing. He could really bring like New York style person with Ben Grimm. I'm not sure what his origins are. I heard someone called me out on my old cast for the Fantastic Four and said, you can't pick a British actor to be a Jewish man. And I was like, dude, does it fucking matter what the fucking skin color is? It doesn't matter. Okay? It doesn't matter. So, alright, here's the big choice. I have Doctor Doom. I have three people for Doctor Doom. I have Jason Clarke, Adam Driver, Keanu Reeves for Victor Von Doom. These three have proven themselves to be great actors. Jason Clarke could bring the acting and the scares to Victor Von Doom. Adam Driver, I feel like, could bring the charisma and the strength of Doctor Doom, and Keanu Reeves could bring the scary aspect. I don't know if I said that already. Here's what I mean. Jason Clarke could be the brooding Doctor Doom. Adam Driver could be the strong... Fuck, what am I trying to say? Strong and brooding are kind of the same thing. Fuck, hold on, give me a second. Give me a second. I think I have it. Okay, Jason Clarke could be like the King-esque kind of douchebag smart Doctor Doom, while Adam Driver could be that buff, kind of like scary, intimidating Doctor Doom, and Keanu Reeves could have all of that in one. So my choice would honestly be Keanu Reeves, but really you could go with all three of these actors would be perfect as Doctor Doom in my opinion. So just pick who you'd like, and I think every one of these could be great. For Franklin Richards, which is the son of Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman, I chose Jaden Lieberher, or Martell, who played Bill in It, the young Bill. I think he'd be perfect, basically because he kind of looks like he could be Emily Blunt and John Krasinski's kid, and I just think he'd be perfect. He's a really good actor, and he could pull off the stutter, which, Franklin Richards doesn't have a stutter, but he has a stutter in It, and I think he'd be a great actor. So yeah, he's my choice for Franklin. Alright, I'm gonna blow through this one real quick. Norrin Rad, Silver Surfer, I'm gonna go with Rami Malek. He just has the acting presence. As much as I didn't really care for Bohemian Rhapsody, I thought he was perfect as Freddie Mercury, and I think he definitely deserved the Oscar. And I really think he would pull off a great Silver Surfer. He's got like the physique and the presence, and just when he enters a scene, you just are expecting a great performance. So for Galactus, I picked Dennis Haysbert to voice him. I think Galactus should be entirely CGI, in my opinion, because I don't know who you really could get to be Galactus. But as for the voice, I chose Dennis Haysbert, who's the guy in the Allstate commercials, basically. He has such a memorable voice and could really bring the sense of strike fear into everybody's souls with Galactus, with that voice, and having it echo throughout the entirety of the cosmos would be really, really frightening coming from Dennis Haysbert, and that's my pick. For Emperor Kl'rt, who is also technically the Super Skrull, I chose Bryan Cranston because he's a character actor and he could really embody this Skrull being who's really menacing in like every sense of the word. So I think Bryan Cranston would be my only choice for Super Skrull. I've seen his name tossed around for Doctor Doom. I really don't see that in my opinion. In my opinion, I think he'd be a great Super Skrull. Okay, and the last one I have on my list is Namor. I know Namor is his own kind of character, but he has had a lot of involvement with the Fantastic Four, and for me, I picked Daniel Day Kim, and that's just because I've always kind of seen Namor to be an Asian-looking person. I know that kind of sounds racist, but I don't mean it to be racist. I just think he kind of looks like an Asian-esque character, and I think Daniel Day Kim would bring a lot of sense and greatness to that character, and that's just who I think would be a great Namor. Yep, that's my list. Anyway, guys, that was my video on Marvel MASH. This is just part 1. Stay tuned for part 2, where I'm going to be talking about my Phase 4, what I'm excited for, ranked from least excited to most excited for. I'm going to be ranking my favorite MCU heroes from worst to best, ranking my favorite MCU villains from worst to best, and then also an extra thing, I'm going to talk about what I want to say in Phase 5. Stick around for part 2. I'll have that up as soon as possible. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, please like and subscribe. I'm sorry for all you fans that are fans of Age of Ultron and Black Panther. I just had to get that out of my way. Just my opinion. Please don't hate me. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.